More details on the negotiations between All Elite Wrestling and Warner Brothers Discovery over a new television media rights deal, with one report suggesting that an offer is already on the table from WBD. Paul Heyman is attacked by the Bloodline last night after refusing to acknowledge Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. Speaking of SmackDown, it was at Madison Square Garden. Stephanie McMahon and more familiar faces were spotted backstage. Spoilers, I won't click on this actual story, but we will talk about it as several NXT superstars have appeared at last night's TNA Impact television taping. Naomi and Tiffany Stratton, they have qualified for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match next weekend. LA Knight has also qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match thanks to some assistance from a famous NBA star. The date and location for AEW Grand Slam has seemingly been revealed. We've got the Double or Nothing financial figures. Jim Ross confirms his status for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view this weekend. And Bryan Danielson says his neck is not doing too great right now. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about the latest negotiations and talks between All Elite Wrestling and Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, AEW and WBD look poised to continue their relationship, though a deal isn't announced as of right now. Fightful say they have been following up with AEW and WBD sources for the last couple of months since the last update was published by them. Throughout the entire process, both sides felt confident the partnership would continue. WBD has also still been actively pitching and participating in cross-promotional efforts, including the House of Dragon integration that we saw recently, as well as working with AEW on their Reebok deal for the Young Bucks and the promotion associated. Now, according to Sean Ross Sapp, there is already an offer on the table from the WBD side to AEW and has been for months, though the details regarding this and this deal and what it really is made up of are few and far between. There have been ongoing talks for quite some time, dating back to last year, when overtures were made to get AEW pay-per-view on Max. However, AEW has opted to wait so far, and conversations have continued. Now, for those looking to predict a number, that is easier said than done. Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, potential peripheral shows like reality shows, AEW All Access, Match and a Meal, all that kind of stuff, potential time slot and block changes, exclusivity, library, streaming and potential pay-per-view rights could all still play a role in what this final figure could be. Now, AEW and WBD also have weekly meetings on Mondays to discuss integrations, creative plans, and to prevent any hurdles the two may face throughout the days that follow. In addition, Fightful have been told that it is no accident that there have been a variety of different time slots and 3-hour blocks that include any combination of their shows. We've seen this with Dynamite and Rampage, Collision and Rampage, Collision and Battle of the Bouts. Now, Fightful has been told that AEW and WBD are examining what nights, time slots and time blocks work best and have been monitoring that appropriately. Now, Fightful say they can confirm that they'd heard WBD had interest in 2023 in putting AEW pay-per-views on the Max streaming service, though it was later expected that AEW will likely negotiate their properties together at first before evaluating the possibility of that individually. Now, regarding the WWE aspect of things and the rumoured meeting last year between WWE and WBD regarding Monday Night Raw and television rights, industry sources said that they expected all along WWE to wait until the right time to announce a deal for Monday Night Raw. One of the main reasons for that was because the market wasn't particularly robust for TV deals at the end of 2023, and despite getting a healthy increase on their SmackDown rights, their stock did take a hit. This is something WWE was said to look to avoid, and WBD wasn't surprised by this. WWE and WBD did meet last year before WWE secured their television rights. When Fightful asked WBD sources about the meeting, Fightful were told that the two sides are international business partners because of the relationship with TNT Sports and WWE here in the UK. Now, WBD sources that Fightful spoke to said that word of extending TV rights last year likely extended to AEW as well as the landscape in late 2023 didn't seem as attractive for those selling TV rights. earlier in 2024, sources indicated that it would likely be well within 2024 before they ended up announcing anything. Now, WBD was also in play for the NBA rights, which are a major priority, but was been publicly adamant that they won't overpay for products. Quote, "We're not typically in the habit of making schedule flexibility and giving overruns to properties we aren't confident or interested in," the WBD source said to Fightful in regards to many online doom and gloom forecasts regarding AEW's future. WBD also was not nearly as concerned with the June 19 number for Dynamite as many would expect, and offered a slew of reasons as to why the show had a low number. WBD sources said that the 3-hour television blocks that we have seen on TNT and TBS for AEW are not a coincidence either. Ahead of the possibility of renewals, both sides are seeing what programming blocks work well together, how they perform, on what nights they perform best too. Now, regarding how NBA rights could affect things, it was admitted from both sides earlier this year that it was likely to have a domino effect one way or the other. One AEW source compared it to an NFL quarterback setting the contract market and seeing how things play out after. Now, if WBD were to lose the NBA television rights, there would be a lot more flexibility for other programming. So what do you make of the latest developments when it comes to the talks between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery? What do you think happens in the end? What number, if there is a number, do you think that AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery settle on? Or could we see the possibility of AEW moving elsewhere and WBD taking a pass? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Now, it was a big night for the Bloodline on SmackDown Friday night in Madison Square Garden. Now, it began with a confrontation with some familiar foes as of late. Ahead of their advertised 6-man tag team match at Money in the Bank, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa made their way to the ring to open up SmackDown, with Sikoa ignoring and laughing at Paul Heyman's query as to where the latest edition Jacob Fatu might be. As this latest iteration of the Bloodline took to the Madison Square Garden stage, before any of them could utter a word, all of undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens, their opponents in said Money in the Bank match, met them in the middle, sparking a brawl that sent the Bloodline running as security tried to settle everything down. As SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis tried to calm the situation, Orton hit another security guard with his trademark RKO, others got caught with stunners, and another got hit with Cody's Crossroads. With the physicality, took to the microphone, letting the Bloodline know that he looks at their latest incarnation as a makeshift, watered-down version of the group that he thought he finished at WrestleMania 40. From there, the champion put the hammer down even further, telling Sikoa that despite his presumed assumption of Roman Reigns' vacated seat at the head of the table, he doesn't see a tribal chief, but rather a seat filler. Rhodes then headed to the backstage area with his allies, escorted by police, and then once joined by Aldis into a car that drove him away from the garden altogether. Now, when it comes to the Bloodline, though, it wasn't their only appearance of the evening. The new Solo Sikoa-led Bloodline bookended last night's SmackDown as Solo Sikoa awaited his official anointment as the tribal chief, head of the table et al. In a acknowledgement ceremony. With undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes and his allies Randy Orton and Kevin Owens excused earlier on in the show, there wasn't much left to stand in the way of Sikoa accepting the ceremonial prestige from Paul Heyman and everyone else. But the Madison Square Garden crowd seemed to either anticipate a betrayal from the latest Bloodline inductee Jacob Fatu, or perhaps a return from Roman Reigns or The Rock. Now, neither happened in the end, and ultimately it was Paul Heyman as the lone resistor, with the wise man taking the beating of a lifetime as a result. Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa and Heyman all hit the ring together, and the group then introduced Fatu as the latest official member with a proper introduction, titled drum, music, graphics, and all. All of Tonga, Loa, and Fatu acknowledged Sikoa as the new tribal chief, but when it was Heyman's turn, he hesitated, buried his head, told Sikoa that he loved him, but then admitted that he did not acknowledge him in assuming Reigns' previous position. At that point, things got exponentially worse for Heyman, with Sikoa nailing his former wise man with a Samoan spike, and then ordering Fatu to hammer him with a diving headbutt. As the crowd roared, "We want Roman," Fatu then led the way in a triple powerbomb through the announce table with an assist from Tonga and Loa, and down went Heyman with the new Bloodline raising the wands as the show went off the air. So what do you think happens next when it comes to the Bloodline, now that Heyman is seemingly out? When do you think Roman Reigns returns? Who do you think he returns with? Let me know your thoughts about that too in the comment section below. Now, as I mentioned, SmackDown was at Madison Square Garden last night, and there were quite a few familiar faces in attendance. Stephanie McMahon was noted as being in attendance, taking in the show from a front row seat. Of course, McMahon appeared at the Hall of Fame and WrestleMania a couple of months ago. She also appeared on a draft episode of Monday Night Raw. Also, WWE President Nick Khan was spotted in attendance at Madison Square Garden for the show. In other notable attendee news, Brian Gewirtz posted his own video from the front row featuring Awesome Truth ahead of their dark match against the Judgment Day Finn Balor and Jaden McDonough on the show. Of course, Gewirtz is essentially known as being The Rock's creative personal writer, so there were several big names in attendance last night. Now, spoilers ahead if you don't wish to be spoiled here, but we got some WWE influence on last night's TNA Impact tapings. We'll let you know in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... Because we saw the No Quarter Catch crew, yes, at TNA Impact. Forbidden Door might be on Sunday, but Friday night, a few more WWE NXT stars crossed the line at the former ECW Arena in Philadelphia, where TNA was holding their Impact television tapings. Partnership between NXT and TNA dates back to the 2024 Royal Rumble, when TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace entered the Women's Royal Rumble match, and said it wouldn't be the last time that the WWE Universe would see her. Now, earlier this month, Grace answered Roxanne Perez's open challenge for the NXT Women's Championship, wrestling Stevie Turner on NXT television before coming up short at NXT Battleground. At TNA's Against All Odds PLE, Grace held an open challenge of her own, which was answered by NXT's Tatum Paxley. And Friday, Grace held another open challenge, and based on fan videos, it was accepted by NXT's Izzy Dame. In addition to that, Charlie Dempsey also showed up at the TNA tapings, knocking Leon Slater off the top rope and taking out another couple of wrestlers along with the referee. This is the 4th promotion that Dempsey has appeared in this year. In January, he turned up at the All Japan Pro Wrestling show, challenging for the All Japan Triple Crown Championship. In April, he competed at GCW's Bloodsport as well. Later in the night, the No Quarter Catch crew stablemate Miles Bourne also appeared. So what do you think this means? Are you excited to see more NXT superstars in TNA wrestling? Let me know your reaction to that one too. Now let's talk about some qualifiers for the upcoming Money in the Bank ladder matches. Madison Square Garden saw 2 spectacular qualifying matches for the upcoming Women's Money in the Bank ladder match last night. By the time Friday's edition of SmackDown ended, Naomi and Tiffany Stratton left the concrete jungle with qualifying match victories under their belts, one step closer to the Money in the Bank contract. Stratton took on the formidable Jade Cargill and Candice LeRae in the opening match of Friday's show. In the first act of the match, Cargill found herself overwhelmed by Stratton and LeRae, who created a temporary alliance in order to best out the Storm. After Cargill managed to fight back both Stratton and LeRae, Nia Jax made herself known by strolling down the ramp. Jax was quickly intercepted by Bianca Belair, and while they eventually parted ways, Belair and Jax's animosity played a key role in the last moments of the match. An argument between the EST and the Irresistible Force distracted the referee long enough for a rogue Indy Hartwell to emerge and shove Cargill into the ring post. With Cargill removed from the equation, LeRae and Stratton engaged in a war of moonsaults, and Stratton secured the victory with the prettiest moonsault ever. Now, later on, Naomi sought to silence Blair Davenport and overcome Hartwell in the last match of the evening. It was Davenport's main roster debut, and the British wrestler landed some impressive offense on the veteran Naomi and powerhouse Hartwell. Things unraveled for the latter when Cargill, incensed by Hartwell's earlier interference, appeared to issue some payback. Naomi capitalized on Cargill's interference and pinned Hartwell for the victory. So they have now qualified for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, what about the men's ladder match? Well, LA Knight got some big help from an NBA star. New York City was lit up in blue for Friday night's edition of SmackDown, which emanated from the historic Madison Square Garden. In addition to being the site of some of wrestling's most historic, memorable moments, the Garden is also the home court for the NBA's New York Knicks, whose star player, Jaylen Brunson, was in attendance. In fact, Brunson ended up jumping the ringside barricade during the men's Money in the Bank match qualifier, ultimately leading LA Knight to a victory. Knight took on Legado del Fantasma Santos Escobar and United States champion Logan Paul, who antagonistically brought out Indiana Pacers Tyrese Halliburton with him to ringside, but not without a tense glare between him and Brunson, who have a very recent history. The Knicks and the Pacers clashed in this year's NBA playoffs, meeting in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Knicks were favored to win the best-of-7 series and in fact won the first 2 games, but the Pacers ended up moving on to the conference finals after beating the Knicks in a win-or-go go-home Game 7 in the Garden. The tension between Brunson and Halliburton added to the pre-existing explosiveness of Knight vs. Paul vs. Escobar. At one point, Paul motioned for Halliburton to retrieve his brass knuckles, but before he could deliver Paul's signature weapon, Brunson jumped the barricade to stare down his Indiana-based opposition. Halliburton was distracted just for long enough to allow a previously downed Escobar to recover, and the match ended shortly thereafter when Knight reversed a roll-up to pin Paul and advance to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. So seemingly this one is not done just yet. Now, what about AEW Grand Slam? We've got some more details on this. AEW looks to be continuing the tradition with a Grand Slam special of Dynamite and AEW Collision shows being advertised for September. Grand Slam has been AEW's annual Arthur Ashe Stadium special, emanating from New York in the latter half of September, beginning in 2021. As noted by WrestleTix, Ticketmaster has listed a date for the next Grand Slam editions of Dynamite and Collision on September 25, suggesting the Saturday show will be pre-taped. This will be the first time Collision has been held at Arthur Ashe. No mention has been made of Friday's AEW Rampage, which could mean for the first time we don't have a Rampage taped from the stadium when they do these tapings. There is currently no further information available pertaining to a pre-sale or general on public sale or anything like that. We get any more details on that, of course, we'll let you know in an upcoming video. Now, Double or Nothing, was it a success for AEW? Well, we'll let you know. AEW celebrated its 5th anniversary with the annual Double or Nothing pay-per-view in Las Vegas, Nevada back in May. The show was headlined by the triple main event of Mercedes Moné defeating Willow Nightingale for the AEW TBS Championship, Swerve Strickland retaining the AEW World Championship over Christian Cage, and the third ever Anarchy in the Arena match between Team AEW and the Elite. Now that the dust has settled, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter has broken down the financial side of the event. Meltzer was reportedly told by AEW that the paid number of fans in the building was 7,500, with an excess of 9,000 people in the building at bell time. However, it was later reported by Polestar that a total of 9,099 paid fans were in attendance, generating a gate of $582,204, contradicting the initial gate number Meltzer received of just under 800,000. What Meltzer finds strange about these figures is that the average ticket price would come to $63.99 if the Polestar numbers are to be believed, which are much lower than what the actual ticket prices were for the show. The 2023 event also generated a similar gate in the T-Mobile Arena, but ticket prices were reportedly much higher. The number crunching continued when Meltzer discussed the May 25 AEW Collision that took place the night before Double or Nothing. The show reportedly drew a gate of $112,298 from 3,944 fans, averaging at around $28.47 per ticket, which Meltzer feels is impossible as AEW ticket prices are much higher than that, even on a show day. Meltzer feels that may have only been around 2,500 fans in attendance for AEW Collision, with the rest being papered up to closer to the 4,000 mark, despite the fact that Polestar are meant to use paid attendance figures. So what do you make of these numbers? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Now, a bit of an update on Jim Ross. People were concerned about the health of the legendary WWE Hall of Famer, but he is going to be at Forbidden Door this weekend. Now, as previously reported, Jim Ross recently had to make another trip to the ER after having difficulty breathing. Ross has been dealing with breathing issues for the past few months, which caused him to miss the Double or Nothing pay-per-view that we were just talking about. On June 28, Jim Ross took to social media to share an update on his AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door status. He wrote, quote, "Flying to New York City Saturday for Forbidden Door, wouldn't miss it at AEW." So Ross is going to be in attendance this Sunday. And finally, a bit of a health update on Bryan Danielson. Now, ahead of his match this Sunday at Forbidden Door, top AEW star Bryan Danielson says his neck isn't doing too great. So, signing with the company in September of 2021, Bryan Danielson has taken part in some of the biggest matches and moments in AEW history. Danielson has firmly solidified his legacy as one of the greatest in-ring performers in professional wrestling history at the same time. Now, last September, Danielson confirmed the next 12 months would mark the final year of his full-time run as a professional wrestler. Speaking with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, Bryan Danielson discussed his upcoming AEW pay-per-view match against Shingo Takagi, as well as the toll on his body during these high-profile bouts have taken on him. He said, quote, "My neck isn't doing too great right now. This is my chance to wrestle Shingo again, and Forbidden Door is one of my favorite pay-per-views. That's because of the uniqueness of it. 5 years ago, multiple promotions didn't work together to put on a super show. Now, CMLL and Stardom are involved. This didn't exist before. I love this show." Now, Bryan Danielson will face New Japan Pro Wrestling's Shingo Takagi in an Owen Hart Foundation men's quarterfinal match at this Sunday's Forbidden Door pay-per-view. The winner of the match will advance to face Pac in the semi-finals on the July 3rd Beach Break edition of AEW Dynamite from Chicago. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.